So now we're going to talk about how substances change their state. They're staying the exact same substance, but they're changing their state. Like, for example, water going to steam or ice. It's still water. It's just a different phase. So we have a few types. If you can start wherever, we can start at the liquid phase since that's where we usually see water. If it gets colder, it's going to freeze into ice. If that ice gets warmer, it's going to melt back into water. When you go straight from a solid to the liquid phase, the solid to the gas phase, and you completely skip the liquid phase altogether, is called sublimation. So this is when you skip the liquid phase. Then from the gas phase, that gas can condense and turn back into a liquid, and we call that condensation. And then vaporization is when you go from a liquid to a gas. So this is going to require adding heat. Okay, and this one you're going to lose heat. In the freezing, you're going to lose heat. In melting, you're going to add heat. Okay, and an example of something that does sublimation is dry ice. Dry ice is solid CO2. And when dry ice evaporates, it completely skips the liquid phase and goes straight to the gas phase. And that's that steam or whatever that you see coming off of the dry ice. So dry ice is a thing that commonly does sublimation. And again, the substance is still whatever it is. For example, these are still all water, just the amount of energy changes. So melting, again, that's changing from a solid to a liquid. Okay. The melting point is the temperature at which that substance changes from a solid to a liquid. So above the melting point, it will be a liquid, and below the melting point, it will be a solid. Sublimation, that's going directly from a solid to a gas, like we talked about on the last slide. And condensation is changing from a gas to a liquid. This is actually an example of sublimation. This is dry ice. So then we can talk about our last state of matter, which is plasma. We don't see plasma very often. It doesn't have a definite shape or volume, just like a gas. But the way it differs from a gas is that it's full of positively charged protons and negatively charged electrons. So our objects are no longer full of atoms, they're full of protons and electrons, and these charged particles are moving back and forth. Neon signs are usually in the plasma phase, and also the neutrons are considered to be plasma. So now we can talk about a change of state graph, and you should know how to read one of these graphs. If you saw the graph and you just had the letters, you should know what's going on within each one. A is where we're going to start. This would be like 0. You see in Kelvin, this is 243. So it's going to go up to B. Once it hits B, it's going to melt. Okay, so melting begins. So A was just a solid. In this flat line, you're going to have both phases because you're melting. At C, melting is over. And the substance is entirely in the liquid phase. This is a phase change graph for water, but you could have one for any substance. This is where vaporization is occurring. And you're going to have the liquid phase and the gas phase. And here is where vaporization ends. And in this section, you're going to have the gas only. So the way you can remember it is the flat parts are when you're going to have two different phases existing together. And on the diagonal parts is where you're going to have just one phase. And you're going to start with a solid, the next diagonal will be water, and the next diagonal will be steam. The flat part will have the solid, which is ice, and water. So it will have part of whatever is on either side of it. For this flat part, you've got some water, and you've also got steam. And you should know how to read one of these graphs and know what phase is in each section, because it's labeled like this on your test.